Support for the Roundup comes from Symphony 3. Councils around the country are working hard to keep their communities safe and prepared before, during and after emergencies such as bushfires and floods. And in recent weeks, Symphony 3 has been working with councils around Victoria, including Greater Bendigo, Mildura, Ararat and Golden Plains, to create emergency dashboards, pulling together live data including weather, traffic, emergency incidents, unplanned and planned disruptions, news and social media feeds. An emergency dashboard is cost-effective and can be deployed in just 3 days. Find out more at www.symphony3.com. Coming up today, criminal proceedings against a CEO and Councillor hit court, 2 councillor resignations in 1 week at a Tasmanian Council. The federal court orders the reinstatement of a sacked council CEO. A new deputy mayor and a new CEO announced for Merri-Bek. Council's monitoring services as fuel prices continue to climb. More details of a CEO recruitment process leaked at Redland Council. And 2 new mayors elected in Western Australia. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy. Welcome to the Local Government News Roundup, a selection of news from and about councils across Australia and beyond. Also today, the Roundup Flashback takes us back to 2024. The podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences, and from Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. Welcome along to a new week of the podcast. It's Monday, the 30th of March 2026, and here are today's top 3 stories. Businessman David Penman has taken his case against Hepburnshire CEO Bradley Thomas and Councillor Don Henderson to the Ballarat Magistrates Court, acting as prosecutor for his claims of misuse of ratepayer money. The Herald Sun reported on proceedings in the court last Thursday, where lawyers for Mr Thomas and Councillor Henderson argued that the case should be struck out. Mr Penman is required to file a brief with all parties by April 16, ahead of a committal case conference in late May, according to the report. Tasmania's Derwent Valley Council has been hit with a second councillor resignation in 1 week, and they've come just 6 months out from local government elections. Matt Hill has stepped down with his resignation following that of former deputy Jessica Cosgrove, according to a report from the Mercury. The council says they'll not be replaced before October. Council CEO Wes Young says the vacancies do not affect operations, with 6 councillors remaining. 4 are needed for a quorum. Under proposed state government reforms, Derwent Valley's council would be cut from 8 members to 7. And the federal court has ordered the reinstatement of Ingrid Stonehill as CEO of Katherine Town Council in the NT. Ms Stonehill was allegedly sacked while on workers' compensation for PTSD, which she attributed to workplace bullying by a former councillor, according to the Human Resources Director website. The court said it's reasonably arguable that her disability may have played a part in the decision to terminate her, and it flagged concerns about how the council handled the show cause process. In a statement, the council confirmed the decision and Ms Stonehill's reinstatement and said it will not be making further comment but would comply with all legal obligations. The reinstatement is pending the outcome of a complaint process that now sits with the Australian Human Rights Commission. And those are today's top 3 stories here on the Local Government News Roundup. Now to more news out of Victoria. It took 3 meetings and 5 votes, but Merri-Bek City Council finally has a new deputy mayor. The council on Friday night elected former Mayor Councillor Helen Davidson to the position after it was vacated due to the 1-month suspension of Councillor Jay Iwasaki. Councillor Davidson was the only nomination for the role on this occasion. In all 4 previous votes, the nominations were Councillors Liz Irvin and Katarine Theodosis. And the council will have a new face at the helm of the organisation come June. Veteran urban planner and community advocate Kate McCackey has been named the council's new CEO. With over 2 decades of experience across Burundara, Whittlesea and Moonee Valley councils, Ms McCackey was chosen for her strong track record in both major infrastructure projects and social inclusion initiatives, according to Mayor Nat Abood. The Mayor says Kate was the standout choice to lead the city's council plan. Ms McCackey officially begins in the role on June 15th and will become the 6th CEO in the history of the municipality. In Mildura, the council is stepping back from a service it's run for decades. It will transition out of delivering early learning and family daycare services, saying the programs are no longer sustainable. Councillors have endorsed a transition plan with no immediate change for families while they look for alternative care. General Manager of Healthy Communities Mark Jenkins says the decision follows long-term falling demand, ongoing deficits and workforce pressures as private providers expand in the region. In Melbourne's Outer East, Knox City Council is pushing the Victorian Government to tighten the rules around rooming houses and to fund better oversight. Council says rooming houses are a key part of the housing system, often used by vulnerable residents, but regulation is spread across multiple agencies. A council resolution calls for stronger minimum standards, tougher enforcement and penalties, and more regular inspections. Knox also wants planning reforms, so all rooming houses require a permit, with stronger community consultation, state-funded regional managers, and more support for compliance and wraparound services. Hume City Council is moving to revive a long-running push for a local university campus, arguing the area is being left behind. Councillor Naim Kurt says just 1 in 5 Hume residents has an undergraduate degree, well below the Greater Melbourne average. The Star Weekly reported that the council will write to La Trobe University, Melbourne Polytechnic and the University of Melbourne, seeking briefings on any plans for the north. And Central Goldfields Shire Council says it needs urgent help to ensure the survival of Maryboro's Princes Park grandstand. The heritage-listed grandstand, built in 1895, is believed to be the first brick grandstand in country Victoria. The council is asking the Victorian government for $8 million to conserve the structure and modernise the downstairs change rooms and canteen. Mayor Ben Green says the project is ready to move into detailed design and construction, with $550,000 already committed for change rooms. Still in Central Goldfields, the council says its draft budget is looking to save $3.2 million as rate capping and costs squeeze the council. Chief Executive Peter Harriott says the aim is to avoid an ongoing deficit, even if it means reducing services. Whittlesea Council has picked a preferred site for a new youth hub. It would sit at the Civic Centre South site in South Morang, near public transport and the main entry off Ferrers Boulevard, and would anchor a broader hub and spoke model of youth spaces across the municipality. Council will set aside up to $6 million in future budgets and is seeking state funding. And a small park in Yarragon has a new name. Baw Baw Shire has officially renamed Rollo Street Park as Angela Malakan Park, honouring a teacher who spent nearly 4 decades at Yarragon Primary School. Mayor Kate Wilson says the council sought a rare exemption to commemorative naming rules and community consultations showed strong support. The Local Government News Roundup is brought to you by the VLGA with support from Symphony 3 and Rath Engineering Development. We've been bringing you the local government news from across Australia and beyond for more than 5 years now, and it's time for our regular flashback. Let's see what was making news in local government circles this week in 2024. Golden Plains Shire Council CEO Eric Brassless has resigned after over 6 years of service. Shoalhaven City Council has decided to pause several construction projects to address its current financial situation. After 12 years in office, Townsville's first female mayor, Jenny Hill, has formally conceded election defeat to independent Troy Thompson. Glenorchy Mayor Beck Thomas plans to run as an independent for the Legislative Council seat of Elwick. Her announcement follows the resignation of Labor's Josh Willey, which has triggered a by-election which will be held on the 4th of May. What a difference 2 years makes. That was our corresponding episode from this week in 2024. The shock news of Eric Braslis's departure at Golden Plains, that led to a period of, shall we say, instability there, but it's all good now. Beck Thomas standing down in Glenorchy, ultimately elected to the Tasmanian Parliament. And, of course, the Townsville story gave us plenty of headlines for many months thereafter, with Troy Thompson temporarily holding on to the mayoral position there in Townsville. And there you have this week's Roundup Flashback. Back to today's news, let's go to New South Wales. Out west in Warren, a run of break-ins and vehicle thefts has sparked a joint meeting between the council and police. Mayor Greg Whiteley says residents have been unsettled and the Shire is taking the concerns seriously. He met with New South Wales police commanders last week who outlined current investigations and new initiatives aimed at youth-related offending. The Mayor says many incidents appear opportunistic and is urging locals to lock cars and secure homes even when they are at home. General Manager Gary Woodman says the discussions were constructive and the Shire will stay engaged for the long haul. The Country Mayors Association of New South Wales says remote and rural councils are hearing from farmers, freight operators, tourism businesses and civil contractors, all worried about diesel supply and soaring prices. Chairman Mayor Rick Furman, OAM, says the group has joined the New South Wales Government's Rural and Regional Diesel Fuel Security Roundtable to press for practical solutions before the sowing season ramps up. He says many towns have little public transport beyond the school bus, and the association is questioning why prices are spiking if supply is supposedly adequate. The fuel price spike is changing the way Kiama Council does business, with staff being directed to work from home wherever they can. Council CEO Jane Stroud says the move is designed to keep costs down, services will continue as normal and facilities will stay open during usual hours. Staff who have access to a council vehicle and can do their job remotely will work from home to reduce operating expenses. In Bega Valley, councillors have voted to stay with the Canberra Region Joint Organisation as the New South Wales Government reviews whether the regional bodies should continue. Mayor Russell Fitzpatrick says the CRJO has delivered practical projects from waste and recycling programs to disaster waste planning, electric vehicle trials and drought resilience work, all funded from outside council budgets. The Mayor says joint advocacy helps regional councils be heard in Sydney, but he's urging the state to provide ongoing financial support if it wants strong governance and real collaboration. A 5-storey hotel proposal in Wagga Wagga's CBD is on pause after the council was split on whether to defer the decision, according to Region Riverina. The plan is for a 31-room development on Peter Street. The sticking point is car parking. A resident also says the design ignores rules intended to protect the street's heritage character. Councillor Richard Foley pushed for more time and Mayor Dallas Tart used a casting vote to defer the matter. And in Balranald, the Shire Council has formally opposed federal water buybacks under the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, warning it could hollow out agricultural towns. Mayor Louis Zafina says the strategy risks long-term economic damage because local jobs and businesses rely on reliable water for horticulture, rice and cotton. The Backcountry Bulletin reported that he's urging governments to shift from demand reduction toward investing in new water sources and infrastructure. Council says it will keep pressing state and federal leaders before the next stage of the Basin Plan review is locked in. Also in the news, in Byron Bay, a dog owner has been convicted and fined $5,000 after Byron Shire Council prosecuted 2 breaches linked to a menacing dog. The owner pleaded guilty and was also fined for failing to take reasonable steps to stop the dog escaping, with the court ordering council costs on top. Shoalhaven is among the first regions to offer shrouded cremation following a change to state law and a new roller system designed by council staff. The council says the goal is a respectful service that matches family wishes while making the process safer and more sustainable. And Dubbo Council has asked its staff to look at new road pavement materials that could make streets last longer and cut environmental impacts. The council will consider trialling alternative pavement technologies in future road projects. Making news out of Queensland today, Redland City Council is facing fresh questions about how it hired its chief executive, Louise Roussan, after another document leaked to the Brisbane Times pointed to concerns about the recruitment timeline. The email reportedly shows Deputy Mayor Julie Talty asking Mayor Jos Mitchell and panel chair Micah Beaumont if more time was needed to vet candidates, warning the process could be open to legal challenge. The story follows a string of leaks alleging decisions were made behind closed doors, and the council has refused to release related emails through Right to Information. A bruising vote inside Central Highlands Regional Council is heading straight for the ballot box. Central Queensland Today reported on a meeting in Capella last week where councillors voted 5-4 to replace Deputy Mayor Rachel Cruz with Karen Newman. Soon after, long-time councillor Gai Cypher resigned on the spot, calling the council dysfunctional and triggering a by-election. Mayor Janice Moriarty was among those backing the change in Deputy Mayor. Councillor Cruz says experience should not be treated as a liability and she'll keep working for ratepayers. The drama played out in front of the gallery with police present. Copper theft is leaving some Brisbane community facilities in the dark, and Crime Stoppers Queensland is teaming up with Brisbane City Council to stop it. A new campaign was launched at the Merri-Bek Recreation Reserve, a site repeatedly targeted by thieves stripping wiring from lighting towers and irrigation systems. Crime Stoppers CEO David Hansen says the real victims are children and families when fields and school spaces are shut for weeks or months. The campaign message is simple. If you see people around electrical cabinets or other copper infrastructure and something feels off, report it. Gladstone is getting a $2 billion boost with the Australian and Queensland governments backing future industry operations in Gladstone and Weipa. Gladstone Regional Council says the funding is aimed at securing the long-term viability of key industrial sites, protecting jobs and keeping economic activity flowing through the region. Mayor Matt Burnett says the announcement is a strong vote of confidence in Gladstone's industrial base and adds certainty for local workers, families and businesses linked to Rio Tinto. And Noosa Council says it's watching the fuel price spike closely, but for now services are unchanged. CEO Larry Sengstock says planned work and day-to-day operations are continuing while staff track fuel use. He says the goal is to absorb the impact within the existing budget and keep essential maintenance and community services running. But he warns if prices stay high for an extended period, the council may need to reassess how some services are delivered to manage higher operating costs. More news out of Tasmania. Glenorchy City Council is pushing back against a federal map redraw that would move the city out of Clark and into the regional seat of Lyons. Draft boundaries from the AEC would shift more than a quarter of Tasmanian voters into new electorates. Mayor Sue Hickey says the proposed redistribution doesn't reflect the way Greater Hobart actually functions day to day, and that, quote, Glenorchy belongs in Clark because that is where our community of interest lies, economically, socially and through daily travel and communication. The council's CEO has filed a formal submission with alternative boundary options. The submission is presented for endorsement by the council at its March 30 meeting. In the southeast of South Australia, the District Council of Grant has confirmed a new chief executive, choosing continuity after weeks of change. Councillors have appointed Gary Button as CEO after he stepped in as acting CEO following the resignation of Daryl Wicker in February. Mayor Kylie Boston says Mr Button has provided steady leadership and will now focus on delivering the council's strategic plan, including major work like the Sale Yards Transformation Project. Mr Button is due to officially start in the role today. And now to Western Australia, where some elections have been held over the past few days. In the city of Nedlands, Leonie Browner has been elected as the new mayor with an absolute majority on first preferences. She received 3,423 first preference votes, more than 2,000 ahead of the nearest of her two rivals for the position. Ms Browner describes herself as having 2 decades of senior experience across government, community and private sectors, including working in Treasury, Premier and Cabinet, the Auditor General's Office and the Economic Regulation Authority. She'll be joined by 4 women and 2 men elected to fill the 6 councillor positions. The election was called after the council was removed by the local government minister last year and replaced with commissioners. At Port Hedland, Jacinta Berend has been successful in the election for mayor, ahead of a field containing some former mayors, including the most recent mayor Peter Carter, who resigned last year. More than half of the councillors resigned, triggering a crisis and action from the minister to replace the council with 3 commissioners. 8 councillors have also been elected, 4 men and 4 women. In the Shire of Boyup Brook, Helen Hack and John Matthews have been elected to fill 2 vacancies on the council. A field of 5 candidates contested the positions. The City of Melville will have a new face around the council table after an extraordinary election. Michael McGoldrick, a former Citizen of the Year, was successful in the ballot and will be sworn in on Tuesday evening. And another of those 14 local governments having extraordinary elections was the city of Joondalup, where Bettina Gould was elected to North Central Ward from a field of 7 candidates. The Electoral Commission has published all of the results now on its website. Heading overseas now, and Oxford in the UK is about to make a quiet piece of history, with Councillor Chewie Munkongi selected as the city's next Lord Mayor, the first black person to hold the ceremonial post. The council says the role can involve more than 300 civic engagements a year, from remembrance events to school visits and community fundraisers. Councillor Munkongi will be sworn in at a mayor-making ceremony at the Oxford Town Hall in May, subject to re-election. He says the appointment is a personal and civic milestone, and he intends to use the position to champion local communities. A missed council tax payment can trigger a scary letter, and the charity Step Change says some councils are making it worse by raising the threat of prison right away. BBC News reported that the debt charity wants imprisonment for council tax arrears scrapped and calls for clearer, more supportive wording as bills will rise again in April. It says jail is used only in England, and it's extremely rare, with just 4 people imprisoned since 2020. Step Change argues warnings about enforcement can push people to disengage, even when they need help. And South Tyneside councillors are set to lose their routine right to travel first class on the train after more than 50 first-class trips last year cost the council over £10,000. BBC News reports that a committee has backed a rule change requiring elected members to choose the cheapest fare, with upgrades only allowed if they are cheaper or if a councillor pays the difference. The proposal goes to the council's annual meeting on the 19th of May. In the US, a major report released by the US Census Bureau last week has highlighted a significant fiscal and planning challenge for local governments. Population growth slowed in nearly 80% of the 2,066 counties that had previously been growing. The steepest declines were noted in border regions, specifically Laredo, Texas, Yuma, Arizona, and El Centro in California. Large counties, particularly those in the New York metro area, are seeing their population growth diminish or turn negative due to a drop in international migration and residents moving to other parts of the country. New York City Council has passed the Schools and Houses of Worship Access and Safety Act. It mandates that the NYPD develop and publicly post response plans for protests near sensitive locations. The council also launched new budget dashboards to increase transparency, allowing residents to track city spending through 2027 in a more accessible visual format. To Canada, in Winnipeg, councillors say they're frustrated after Russ Wyatt appeared at City Hall for the monthly council meeting a day after he was charged with allegedly drugging and sexually assaulting a man. Mayor Scott Gillingham urged Wyatt to step away from council while the matter proceeds, calling his presence a distraction, and several councillors echoed that view. One even turned her back when Wyatt spoke as a silent protest, according to CTV News. The city of Hamilton, Ontario, is being fined after a decades-long sewage leak into the city's harbour, a case that highlights how old infrastructure errors can quietly damage waterways. According to CBC News, a court has heard a cross-connection in a combined sewer system sent an estimated 337 million litres into Hamilton Harbour, over about 26 years, only discovered in 2022 when staff reviewed older inspection videos. In Niagara-on-the-Lake, the council is moving to shrink itself ahead of this year's municipal election. Councillors have voted to ask Ontario to cut 2 seats, taking the chamber from 8 councillors plus the Lord Mayor down to 6 plus the Mayor. 4 local councils in the Niagara area have passed formal resolutions this month to voluntarily reduce the size of their own councils. It comes after Premier Doug Ford said last month that any governance changes in Niagara must come from Niagara by Niagara, with the support of the majority of mayors and elected officials. And finally to New Zealand, Wellington City Council has confirmed its draft annual plan for public consultation, and in a major shift, the council proposed a 7.4% rates increase, a sharp reduction from the originally planned 12.7%. Mayor Andrew Little cited rates affordability as the primary driver following clear feedback from the community. To achieve this, the council is proposing a new rate for short-term accommodation set at 2.6 times the general rate for properties available more than 60 days a year, and increasing fees for cremations, marinas and swimming pools. A major administrative change was also confirmed. From July, water charges will be removed from general rates and billed separately by a new entity. A report released last week by Infrastructure New Zealand has sparked debate among local leaders. It warns that New Zealand has an infrastructure discipline problem, having prioritised new builds over the maintenance of existing assets, a sentiment echoed by several regional mayors facing set-and-forget legacy issues. And local governments in New Zealand will play a key role in a major infrastructure rollout with $52.7 million in government-backed loans, helping companies like ChargeNet install 1,700 new EV charging points across regional and urban council areas by 2030. And that's the latest from the Local Government News Roundup, edition number 569, recorded on Monday the 30th of March 2026. If you'd like more details on any of the stories featured in today's episode, head to lgnewsroundup.com for the transcript with story links. If you have comments or feedback or story ideas, you can email us at lgweeklynews@gmail.com. The Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences, and Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. The Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening, and bye for now. Support for the Local Government News Roundup comes from Rath Engineering Development, smarter systems for local government, like Red GMS, helping councils manage gravel pits and projects, track quality, test results, blending options and haulage, and know the true cost per tonne from day one. Rath Engineering Development can give you a one-off report that uses your existing pit data to pinpoint the best gravel sources for your next resheeting program or disaster restoration works, saving your council time and money. For local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience, talk to the team at Rath Engineering Development. Head to rathed.com.au to find out more.